Our theme this year is that the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. Again, we make plans, those plans change, and God establishes our steps. We've been talking about a process of loving our neighbors, reaching into the lives of people who are close to us in our community, inviting them to small groups, inviting them into our homes, feeding them, talking with them, and then loving God, getting them to worship, getting them to come to worship, to fall in love with God, to teach them what it looks like to love God, and then serving others, rolling up our sleeves and helping others. Merriam-Webster defines mercy this way: kind or forgiving treatment of somebody who could be treated harshly. A second definition is kindness or help given to people who are in a very bad or desperate situation. Today we're going to talk about mercy, and I don't know if any of you have ever been at a point where you've been absolutely desperate for mercy, where you've been so humbled and so desperate for help that somebody had to lend a hand to you or you would not make it. Most likely, given demographics of this group and the nation we live in, some of us probably have been. Some of us here today may have not been yet at a point where we're desperate for mercy. I'm going to show you a short video here. Some of you may have seen this because it's been viewed millions of times. It was originally posted back in 2008 by two college students at the time by the names of Andrew Messer and Nicole Milovny. And they both were talking about the homelessness crisis in this nation. And they went around and they did some interviews with some homeless people, and they wound up in Chicago, and they did an interview that just kind of captured the hearts of a lot of people. It's just a short clip. But it really resonated with millions of people. And we're going to watch that now, and then we'll talk about this.
My name is Ronald Davis. I've been on the street for about a year and a half now. Well, I come from the suburbs. Life, which is rough. And I done slept in Lower Wacker, I done slept on the bridges, I done slept in little cardboard boxes and stuff, just surviving, especially in the wintertime is the hardest time. And I go to fill out applications for a job and stuff. They look at me, I'm not looking presentable, and then we'll call you, leave a number. But how can I leave a number when I don't have a phone? So it's just a struggle out there, I just, from day to day, people, I come out here and panhandle with my cup. Right here at the Metro train station, people come off, bringing me sandwiches and stuff like this here. And I start out in my morning about 6 o'clock. Sometimes I don't even have enough to go to the flop house. Sometimes the flop house is a cheap place, and they number $16 for 24 hours right over there on Clark and Van Buren. And a lot of times I don't have enough money for that, so I had to end up sleeping in the park or on one of these benches downtown or something like this, and then the security guards come and run you off about 5 or 6 in the morning. So by 6 o'clock I started panhandling and trying to survive. And like I said before, some days I don't even have enough to get a room, so I just sleep on the street. But I depend on the people that's coming off the train, because most of them I give them respect. Most of them like me. They come out and give me clothes and food and stuff like this here, so I can survive. Give me a few bucks and everything, and I add it up at the end of the day and get me a little room for the night. And whenever I'm not fortunate enough to get the room, I just sleep in the street wherever I can. It's really humiliating to be shaking a cup 24 hours a day, and people just look at you like you some kind of little bum, you know what I'm saying? I have had people to walk past me and say, "Get a job, bum." And I said, "Wait a minute, I'm not a bum, I'm a human being." And it's hard. But after the end of the day, when people go home, and everybody get on the metro train, and they mind. And then I just feel so bad that I can't be going on, you know. I mean, I'm sorry. But it's really emotional because I'm really trying to get myself together and get off this tree, you know. And I don't care what it's doing. If I can get a job and through this humility, you know, I mean, you just lose all your humility when you're shaking a cup begging. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can look at a person and tell if they give you respect or not. You know what I mean? A lot of people look at you like you're just a piece of crumb. You know, I had one guy walk past me and talked about me so bad, and then I just looked at him. I said, "God bless you, sir." He walked past and went down the street, come right back. And he said, "You know what, man, I had a bad day." He said, "I'm sorry for even calling you that." He said, "Because I know you're a human being." He said, "Would you accept my apology?" I said, "Apology accepted." He went in his pocket and gave me $30 and said, "Go get you a room and get you something to eat." You know what I mean? I mean, you know, no matter what people think about me, I know I'm a human first. And just because I'm down on my luck, don't give nobody no excuse to call me no bomb. Because I'm not.
The gentleman you just watched, his name was Ron Davis. I say was because Ron Davis passed away. And a lot of rumors are kind of swirling around his death and how he died and when he died. There's a group on YouTube, and the group is called We Hustle. They just did a recent documentary back in August that is phenomenal, and I urge you to go watch that. And it was on Ron Davis. The title of the documentary is What Happened to Ron Davis. Rumors began to swirl around 2013 that Ron was beaten to death. In fact, originally I think that's what this documentary was about. It was not just homelessness, but the violence that's increasing dramatically against homeless people in this nation. It really has risen dramatically in recent years. In this documentary, they talked about how because of this video that you just watched, it kind of pulled on the heartstrings of people, and people wanted to find out, you know, where's this homeless guy from? What's his name? And it sparked this curiosity. And so there was a group who went and they did another interview, and they started a GoFundMe or something like that. It was some sort of fundraiser. And they were supposed to raise all kinds of money for him. They gave him a cell phone, and in that interview, he's talking about the cell phone, and the guy, Ron, is just smiling from ear to ear. And he said, "I can't believe I'm just so blessed." And this guy in the interview, Ron says that this guy told me that he promised me a job, and he said, "I don't know what the job is, and I don't even care." He said, "Just the fact that somebody cares about me enough to offer me a job. They told me to be waiting here and that a van would come up and they're going to take me down and they're going to work." He said, "I will gladly work any job. I'm just so blessed." Well, it turned out that the cell phone he got, along with $200 cash, cell phone was immediately shut off. And it turned out that the people that did the fundraiser were frauds, and they took all the money and they ran, leaving him with absolutely nothing. And so Ron went back out to the place that he knew in front of that CVS, and he began doing what he said is so humiliating, and that's to shake the cup at people. People kind of lost interest because that's how we're wired, right? We like these powerful moments, and then after time, we just kind of lose interest, and we don't realize that there are some people who are living at the mercy of others every moment of every day. And Ron was one of those people living at the mercy of people every single day of his life. And so these rumors started circulating because there was a man in this vicinity that had been beaten to death that kind of matched his description. He didn't have any identification on him, so police couldn't identify who he was. And so this nameless homeless person had been bludgeoned to death. Then in this documentary, they talked about how speculation started to stir again, because on Google Maps in 2019, in front of that CVS, was a gentleman holding a cup that had a figure a lot like Ron Davis. And so rumors, of course, started swirling. Could that be Ron? Is it possible that Ron kind of disappeared, fell off the map for from 2013 to 2019, and then he came back? Well, the people in this documentary, they went there and tried to find out, and were talking to people, and it turns out that the big question is, or the big answer, I guess, is nobody knows. And so there are rumors that Ron lived until 2019, and it was in fact 2019 and not 2013 when he was beaten to death. But that rumor is still circulating that that's how he met his demise. Either way, Ron is gone. And it's a sad, tragic tale of the end of his life. In the passage that was read for us this morning, Jesus encounters a blind beggar who was at the mercy of everyone around him. Homelessness has always been around. Homeless people have always been vulnerable. Homeless people have always been humiliated at asking for help. And we find a lot of these scenes in the scriptures. And what's important to me is Jesus' response to homeless people and his position towards homeless people. In Merriam-Webster, and there are a couple other definitions, they talk about people who have mercy on somebody else have the power over that person to dramatically change the course of their life in one direction or the other. And I think we often don't realize the amount of power that we have over other people. Ignoring homeless people is having power over those people. Taking care of people, reaching into their lives, getting to know them, learning their names, is having power over those people. And we can either use it for good or we can use it for bad. But Jesus chose mercy this day. And here's how the passage goes. As he drew near Jericho, a blind man was sitting by the roadside begging. And hearing a crowd going by, he inquired what this meant. They told him, Jesus of Nazareth is passing by. And he cried out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. And those who were in front rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped and commanded him to be brought to him. And when he came near, he asked him, What do you want me to do for you? And he said, Lord, let me recover my sight. And Jesus said to him, Recover your sight, your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him, glorifying God. And all the people, when they saw it, gave praise to God. There are so many things going on in this story, and I wish I had time to unpack all of it, but here are the basic takeaways. One is that Jesus has immediate compassion on this man. This man clearly is dependent on the mercy of other people for survival. And he cries out, and I imagine he was humiliated, crying out, saying, Jesus of Nazareth, or Son of David, have mercy on me. That's not really an unhumiliating thing to do. I mean, the guy's already begging. He's holding his hand out. He's asking for money. Now he's crying out, ask him for mercy. The second point is that the people stopped back and rebuked him. And I don't know what that looked like. I don't know if this was verbal abuse. I don't know if they beat him. The scriptures don't really tell us, but he was severely rebuked for crying out. What was his charge? What was the problem? What was the issue with this man? He was asking for mercy. That was his offense that day. And they came back and they rebuked him. And I know all of us are sitting here thinking, well, yeah, that's terrible. I would never do that. I would never rebuke somebody. But we've all done it in our minds, if we're honest. We've all thought at certain points, bum, get a job. We've all thought that at different points in our minds. I mean, if we're being completely honest, we've thought that at least about some people. We may not have said it, but we've thought it. And I think it's fascinating, point 3, that Jesus asked him what he wanted him to do. You know, oftentimes we get caught in this mode where we like take the path of least resistance, and if we begrudgingly do something, we'll like drop $1. We're like, okay, don't show them that I actually have a 50 in my wallet. Like, give them the lowest denomination possible, and like hurry up and drop it uncomfortably and get away. You know, we do the bare minimum, but Jesus didn't do that. He said, what do you need from me? What do you want me to do? Can you imagine if we asked people that? That's an act of mercy. What do you need from me? What do you want me to do? And he asked, Lord, let me recover my sight. And I imagine he was saying this instead of saying, well, give me food, give me a place to stay, give me clothing, give me something. Instead of saying that, I think he asked to receive his sight so he could work. It was like Ron Davis, right? I don't want to be out here shaking a cup at people. It's humiliating. I fill out an application and it says, leave your phone number so that we can call you back. And how can I do that? I don't have a phone. Then the guy finally does get a phone. It gets shut off because the people who gave it to him were frauds. And this is the cycle that people live in routinely all over the country. I was looking at statistics right now. There are an estimated 580,000 homeless people living in the United States, and I imagine that number is actually much bigger than that, because how do you track it? It's a lot of people, a lot of families living under bridges, living in cold places like Chicago, like Ron Davis, just trying to survive. They're all around us. And so I was going through this week, and I thought, you know, we're trying to really reach into the local community and find ways to serve people. And I think there are different things going on where people are really doing an excellent job. But one of those that's been on my heart for a long time is our homeless community in Somerset. That community here is growing exponentially. The number of homeless, guys, it's staggering. The Next Step Center is the only homeless shelter in Somerset County. They have really strict guidelines for getting in the first place, and there's always a waiting list. They never have vacancies where people can just walk into the homeless shelter and find shelter. Never. They've been expanding, and so I called them up again the other day. When was that? 2 days ago. And I talked to Lisa, who's absolutely wonderful, and her and I we click really well. And I said, Lisa, what do you guys need for the homeless community here in Somerset? What do you guys need? If we were to offer it, I can't make you promises, because we got to talk about that as a congregation. It's got to be on our hearts. It can't be me saying, all right, we're going to do this, and let's get a sign-up list, because it will fail. I promise it will fail. It's got to be impressed on the hearts of us if we're going to help. And I said, what are the biggest needs at the Next Step Center? And she said, it's so funny that you called. She's like, we just bought the law and office building here in Somerset. It's on Main Street, a couple buildings up from Somerset Trust. She said we have 16 units inside of there that we're going to convert into homeless apartments, homeless shelters. And they're going to be family units. And she said, we have one maintenance guy who's an older gentleman, and he's been doing all of the work by himself. And she said, he's tired, and we can't find volunteers to help. She said, if you want to know what the need is right now, the most immediate need, that would be it. She's like, to send volunteers and do painting, to help him hold heavy things, sheets of drywall, just to help him, give him a hand. And so I'm saying that because I want to prepare your minds. I'm not making any announcements. I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any plans. I'm just saying this is a need right here, right now in our community for a group of people who every day are at the mercy of other people. That's how they're living day to day. Entire families who have no place to lay their head at night. Now, I don't know if you've noticed lately. I've barely noticed because I was built for the cold. Eden and I went out, what day was that? Yesterday? We went out in the morning, it was 7 degrees. She was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, sandals, and I strapped on snowshoes, and we went up in the woods for a little bit. But it's cold. It's been cold. And there are people out there who have no place to lay their head, literally, right here in this town. And so as we think about those things, as we talk about making plans, let's not use generalities and be like, yep, we're going to plan our lives for God. No, guys, we have to be really specific. What are we as a congregation going to do to help people who need mercy? How do we plan to be merciful to people? There's one more story, but I'm out of time, so maybe I will continue this for next week. If there's anybody this morning who has any prayer needs, I would encourage you to come up, or if you've not yet taken that step to put Christ on in baptism, that invitation is always open. Let's all stand and sing together. Be blessed this week.